We're going to begin with probably the most classic or traditional, if you will, literally called traditional periodization, also called linear periodization. This is simply when you are progressively increasing towards sport-specific characteristics, adaptations within the program. So you're starting with broad training stimulus and getting to specific training stimulus. Generically speaking, this is typically seen where the volume, if we're talking resistance training, that is, if volume usually is higher at the beginning of a linear periodization model and you slowly progress the intensity, so you're increasing the load and then decreasing the volume as time goes on. So what is undulating periodization? Undulating periodization is when the primary adaptation being trained switches on a daily or weekly basis. So there's two different types of undulating periodization: daily undulating periodization or weekly undulating periodization. Very simply, as easy as it sounds, daily undulating periodization is where the main stimulus being delivered with each workout changes each workout within the week. So for example, what that would look like is perhaps a strength session on Monday, a hypertrophy session on Wednesday, and a power session on Friday, for example. Moving on to the next model that I'll be talking about today, which is block periodization. This is very similar to a linear periodization model, and you honestly could dress it up to look exactly the same as what a linear periodization model could look like, a program utilizing linear periodization. But there are some particular nuances, specifically with the jargon utilized within the block periodization model. Again, the general idea is having blocks or mesocycles, which we discussed in the part 1 podcast of exercise programming. If you haven't heard that one yet, go back a couple podcasts, check that one out. That'll define some of the key concepts in terms as well as principles utilized in exercise programming. Anyway, furthermore, into block periodization, there are blocks utilized that focus on a primary stimulus, and you focus on a stimulus, move on to the next and the next. The last model we'll be discussing today is the conjugate model. So what is conjugate training? So conjugate training really tries to capitalize on strength and power and speed. Typically, people utilizing the conjugate method are athletes who are in the world of Olympic lifting, powerlifting, and trying to get really strong. So what group that really made this popular was Westside Barbell, which many of you may be familiar with. They kind of popularized this method here